If you want to learn how to use your words to make money, if you want to learn how to make your writing stand out, make it really pop, and have people be excited for your services, products, or programs, then you won't want to miss today's episode. Welcome to Thriving Launch with Luis Congdon and Kamala Chambers, the show for heart-centered entrepreneurs who want it all.
5 days a week, we bring you different segments to inspire you to live a life of freedom. We interview the leading experts in the field of business, health, and love. Be sure to check out Training Tuesdays, where we give you a clear action plan to grow your own business.
Do you have a product or service that you would like to sell online? Or maybe you've been thinking about it, but you're reserved to do it because you need a website, you need complicated systems, and you need to spend money? Well, I've created a completely free course that teaches you how to use Facebook in a purely organic way. This means no ads and no money are needed. You can use Facebook completely free. So head on over to thrivinglaunch.com. Opt into my Profit from Social Media course. I'm going to teach you the free methods to using Facebook to make money today. Today, we're going to be talking with David Deutsch. He's a renowned copywriter, direct response marketer who used to work with Ogilvy and Mader on Madison Avenue. And if you've ever really picked up anything around marketing and advertising and selling, then you will without a doubt come across Ogilvy and Mader. They're one of the most world-renowned companies, marketers that have ever lived on the planet. They've been around for a long time. And what's cool is David has worked for them. He's gotten some incredible training, and he's also highly respected in his own right. You know, he's worked with companies like Healthy Directions, Agora, Soundview, VNR, and a bunch of other publishing and direct response marketing companies. So it's a real pleasure to have David on the show today. All right, so we are here with David Deutsch. He's a copywriter. He tells stories. He uses persuasion. He's going to talk to us today about how we can sell through the written word, how we can persuade, whether it's written or spoken. Welcome to the show, David. Are you ready to launch?
I am ready. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really curious. What do you find is the most beneficial part of persuasion? And do you think it's creepy or anything like that, you know, to try to persuade people online? I know that a lot of the people that come and are attracted to me and my audience, they don't like sales at all.
Yeah, that word persuasion even has persuasion. It could even be kind of creepy almost, but we need to do it, right? Right, David? If we're going to sell, if we're going to enroll people into what we're up to, we're going to need to persuade people, yes?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a lot of negative connotations around that word. And I think that those negative connotations, when people buy into it, it stops them from not just persuading people, it stops them from helping as many people as they can. Because people need to be persuaded. You see how people are, to do things that are good for them, to lose weight, to exercise. They need to be persuaded to do that. They're not going to just do it because you say, it's a really good idea. You should really exercise. You're going to die early. It takes persuasion. And if it's in the service of selling a product, then, that's a product that's going to benefit them. And they're not going to get that.
I hear you talking and immediately there's two different parts of me, right? There's the old me that's listening and going, oh God, having to persuade somebody to do something and having to almost be pushy or
the
help
nonprofit
them.
Luis.
Yeah, nonprofit Luis was very dedicated to persuading people to sleep in a shelter or get off drugs and alcohol. But nonprofit Luis coming into the business world did not like persuading people to buy his products or programs. So as soon as somebody said, oh yeah, I don't know if I can afford that, or it sounds interesting, let me think about it, I'd say, cool, we'll talk later, or oh yeah, no worries, and we'd get off the phone. But that's totally not what we should be doing. I mean, if we're going to really serve somebody, there's more that goes into persuading. So what's kind of that mindset hurdle that we need to make?
Well, I think we have to start with the presumption that the products are going to help people. And I think there's some variation to that question. I mean, I may have a product that's just not right for someone. I'm not going to persuade them to buy it, and I know you wouldn't either. But if it's a product that they genuinely need, that they can afford, then I'm going to do what I can to see that they get the help that that product's going to give them. So in a case like that, it's almost like you've got to have a mindset of those people that they need what I have. And, as John Carlton would say, they've got money in their pocket that belongs to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do what
That's
I'm going
nice.
to do what I can.
Yeah, I like that. And then there's the Wolf of Wall Street. And John, I'm sorry to put you in the same sentences as the Wolf of Wall Street, but he also says I could spend their money better than they can.
Well, there may be some truth in that, but at least there may be truth in their money in my pocket gets them something that's going to have value beyond that money that's now in their pocket. That's the $49 that they're going to give to me I'm going to give them something that's going to change their life, or at least has the potential to change their life.
That's the biggest hurdle that I definitely had as I was learning about sales and persuasion. And it's funny because there is a very persuasive side of me. Kamala can tell everybody
oh my
about
God.
it.
This
very,
guy
very
can
persuasive.
get anything he wants.
Very persuasive, very pushy. But then when it came to selling my own products and services and having people actually give me money, there was this whole kind of anxiety around it. And I had to kind of cultivate a different belief system. And you're so on the point for me, David, and I'm sure for the listeners too. You're so on point because the first thing that we have to believe in is what we're offering. I knew that what I was offering Kamala as the opportunity to date me and to get to know me.
Opportunity. That's really good, Luis.
I mean that in the most humble and loving way, of course. But I knew that if you went out with me, it would be very wonderful for both of us. But then when it came to the product and something to sell and money being exchanged, I got very antsy. And then I started listening and hearing people like you, David, saying, you really think about the return of investment for this person. What are they going to get? And it's not money that's really being exchanged. It's just energy. Money's happening so that something else bigger can happen. And oh my gosh, that makes it very easy for me now to get on a call and say, this is the program that you need. And the person can feel a little bit uncomfortable. What do we do with now? We really believe in it, but this person is getting uncomfortable, or they've given us pieces of information that we can really use. But now there's this whole sense of you're a little uncomfortable to push with the person a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of copywriting, people always say, oh, what are good copywriting techniques? Tell me the 4 rules, or, tell me the magic thing that's going to make me a great copywriter. And really, it's just first of all, getting over that belief, not selling from your heels like that, believing in what you have to sell, believing that what you have will be better for that person to have than the $49 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the most important thing, is that mindset. And also, just thinking about taking the person on the journey that you want to take them on, from skepticism and disbelief to accepting your product and to believing it's going to help them.
I think you just nailed it with knowing that it can help them. That if I don't believe in something, I have tried to sell my offers in the very beginning as a coach, and I didn't know if it was going to help them because I had never had a client before. So, when they said, oh, well, I'm not interested, or let me think about it, I would just back away right away. I didn't want to persuade them. Once I saw how many results people were getting, then I really started to believe in it and buy into it. And it's like, if I do not offer this to them, I'm doing a disservice. They're not going to get the results. They're going to keep sitting on the couch every day. They're going to keep being broke, that kind of thing. So I think you're right on there.
Yeah, I mean, that's where an understanding of human psychology comes in too. Just the sheer amount of inertia that I would say people have, but even that we all have, we're so overwhelmed. We're so busy. We've got so many courses to read and to do. And so we resist new stuff until you prove to me how valuable it is. And you can't let that resistance stop you, because that's just people's way of feeling you out, as it were. Let me put forth my resistance and see what they come back with in return. That's kind of the test gauntlet that people throw down.
I'm really curious. Let's get really concrete here. Now, what is one thing that we can do to boost our art of persuasion? Or 3 things if you got them.
It's a very interesting technique. I'm stealing this, I think, from John Carlton, where you just try to persuade people of things in life. Like, let's say you try to persuade someone to go to a certain movie. Let's say you call up a friend and try to persuade them to read a certain book. And you see very carefully both what their reactions are and what sorts of things work and don't work. Because really, it's just sort of an automatic thing, in our lives right now. We try to persuade people to do this, and we try to persuade, our kids to eat better, and we try to persuade someone to go to a movie, but we don't really look at that. We don't really see what persuasion is. And I think if you really stop and you really start doing that more intentionally, you go through a couple of days where you really try to persuade people of things just for the sake of doing it. You watch when you have to persuade someone, anyway for something. You don't even have to make special situations.
Yeah, Kamala, just try this cigarette. It'll be fun.
Yeah. You could try to persuade someone of something crazy, like, I think we should go skydiving. What? Yeah, it's statistics show that you start quoting statistics, it's really not as dangerous as most people think. You tell them a little bit about how skydiving is so good for your self-image, because once you've done that, you feel like you could do anything, and then see what happens. I mean, you don't have to go skydiving. You could say, "Oh, you don't have to go skydiving with me. This was just part of an experiment." But you would learn more, I think, from doing that than from, following some set of rules that I could give you in terms of what makes for good persuasion. I could tell you what to watch for. I could tell you some things in general that make for good persuasion, but you'll be a good persuader, as you in writing, when you become a good persuader in life, when you really study how to get people, not to do things against their self-interest, but just how to help people decide to either do something that's good for them, or just, you want to go to this movie, and darn it, I'm going to persuade them to go to this movie instead of this movie.
If only anger worked through my copywriting. I'm just kidding.
Actually, anger works pretty good.
I'll be very upset if you don't make this decision to have a puff of this cigarette, Kamala. We don't smoke, by the way. It's a total joke.
I don't know. It's the second time you brought up smoking, so I'm wondering what goes on behind closed doors here.
I don't know. This is the first I've ever heard of it. So I'm thinking about how, Luis, you've always said I'm not a good salesperson. Like, I don't do sales, and I've never had anyone sell me harder to go out with them than you did. You pitched hard. You were like, you want to go out with me, and here are the reasons why. I was not on the market. I was not buying. I was not interested in anyone, let alone some short bald dude.
That's the handsome description of me. But normally I'm described as a stallion.
He is.
No.
Yes.
So going back.
Wait.
Yeah.
Camilla, I want to hear, what did he do to take you on that journey from I'm not in the market and you're a short bald guy to I'll give you a chance, and then what did he do? Obviously it seems to have worked out. So it's
worked out fantastic, and now I'm like, oh damn, he's a short bald guy. That's sexy.
She's watching all the Jason Statham, Vin Diesel movies. She any guy that's bald, she's like, damn, that guy's
anyway,
handsome.
Luis, I think what the real trick was that you kept coming forward. You kept showing up, just like in marketing. You got to keep showing up.
It's that daily email.
Yeah, you got to keep showing up in people's world. You kept showing up, and you were very persistent, and you kept telling me why I wanted to be with you, why I was the best thing that you've ever come across. And so that's another thing, is I think it's really important for people to feel special. They need to feel special. Like, oh, wow, this person has created something special for me. Luis made me feel incredibly special. And, he kept telling me all the benefits of being with him.
I think that's a really important point, that it's not, a lot of people know, okay, one of Cialdini's, 6 things is likable. We should try to make the reader like us. But equally important is that we make the reader feel like we like them.
Mm-hmm.
You're special. You're seeking out knowledge. You're reading, you're watching this VSL, you're reading, you're on this web page. You're obviously trying to make your life better. Not many people do that. And if you buy this product, you will be even more special.
Yeah, and I want to touch on something that you said is incredibly powerful, and this is great for anyone listening who considers themselves not good at sales, not good at copywriting, and yet they have this hidden talent that they don't even really know that they have, which is an ability to persuade people. And one of the best ways to get good at acknowledging yourself and your abilities verbally to persuade people and then be able to transition that to writing, because now I'm a very confident persuader now and I'm just getting better and better. And it is utilizing that exact tactic that you talked about, David, is I started noticing what I would do with people, so with Kamala, I kept pointing out the benefits that were very laser targeted for her. And with other people, if I want them to do something, I'd say, listen, you could sit at home and enjoy your Friday by yourself at home and have a TV dinner. Or maybe you want to come out with me. We'll go to a couple movies. We'll go out to eat. We'll hit the town. But there's a big difference there where I'm also comparing, you could, and so taking that over to product sales, you could make do without this product. Maybe you even spend countless hours trying to figure out how to put all of this together because, it is out there and people that want it for free will figure it out. That's a lot of hours and that's totally up to you. Or you could have it here where it's bundled for $49 and I've spent countless hours making it very simple for you. But that is, even that would be the way that I would verbally talk to somebody. Now writing that is essentially very simple.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the safety valves, I think, is that you can never really persuade someone of something if they're not ready, if they're not persuaded in their own minds already, if it's not really in their best interest. I mean, you may be able to trick someone in the short term, but you get found out pretty quickly. You get product returns. You're not going to be able to convince someone to jump out of an airplane if there's not some part of them that really has always wanted to do that and has just been afraid to come forward. The only thing you can really do is just coax that part of them forward that's secretly kind of wanted to do that and would do it. You're not going to take someone that's got a fear of flying or something and get them to jump out of an airplane, no matter how much you persuade them. So I think persuasion is really just convincing people to act. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really all we're doing. We're not changing their minds so much as we're just saying, hey, exercise is good for you. You need to do it. It's good for your weight. It's good for your health. Let's get you off that couch and get you going. Let's act.
You're totally bringing me back to college, sitting in my philosophy class, and we were talking about free will. And in the world of philosophy, this is a big thing, right? Is there such a thing as free will? Is it predestined? What makes a person make the choices that they make? These are huge philosophical questions. And there was a great writer, and I can't think of his name right now, but very well known among philosophers. And one of the articles that he wrote is essentially saying that people, once they're set in certain ways, then there's just certain laws that they live by, and it's essentially they don't really have free will even though they're experiencing it as such, but they really don't. It's like if you turn water to boil, eventually it'll boil, and that's just the law. And one of the examples he gave is a man has a variety of friends, and he chooses to speak to his monk friend who's grounded in Catholic belief systems, and he's talking to this guy, and the guy says, the monk responds and says, you know what you should do, and you've actually haven't really come to me for advice. You've only come to me to hear what you wanted to hear, so you should proceed with exactly what you know you should do and what's in adherence to you. And essentially what the philosopher is saying is that we choose things and then we rationalize it, but really truthfully what's happening is that we're already set in our certain ways. And that's a lot of, and when people come and buy a product or service, I realize that they're buying it, and by the time they come to me, they've pretty much already been pre-sold. They might have a few rebuttals. It's my job to know some of those rebuttals that they have. But ultimately, I'm not winning or losing. I mean, to some degree, I don't feel like I've really lost if they say no. And I don't completely feel like I won if they say yes. I mean, it's a great feeling. It's gratifying. But ultimately, I know that they chose that thing because it's something that they already wanted. And I just needed to show them the benefits and make sure that that was clear enough for them.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. All you can do is put something in front of someone, and you can help them find the emotions that will help them to get excited about it, to feel what it might be like to do it. You kind of future pace, right? Imagine you've lost that weight 3 months from now. Imagine that you have the money that you've always wanted. So you help them get over their short-term perspective on things, and then you give them the rational reasons to back up those feelings of wanting to do it, because you need that too.
Yeah, and definitely we want to help them kind of rationalize and show them the benefits. And that's really it's key stuff. I'm sorry, I got excited about asking you this question because this is something a lot of people don't really understand around persuasion, is understanding the rebuttals that people are going to have, right? So if you're in sales and you do it for a day or two, you're going to hear this, "Oh, I don't have the money right now. It sounds great, but I don't have the money." But when we're dealing with specific products and programs, that's just one of them. Have you found a way that you really like to do your research or to find out what the rebuttals are? I mean, I find I will sell more consistently if I can pretty much preload their rebuttals and tell them what they're going to be and then answer those rebuttals for them. How have you found any strategies around how to do that research so that you understand the market enough to then be able to do that?
Yeah, goodness, I could talk for hours about this. There's three different ways of doing that. One way is research. You go to forums, you try to see what objections have been brought out in the past. You study your competitors' materials, you see what objections they answer. You read the trade publications, you do all that research stuff that can help you get smarter about that. The other thing I think is to go talk to people. Try to sell it to someone. Try to sell it to, have your spouse play the role of the prospect. Go to a real prospect and try to sell them on it. See what objections they come up with. And then the third way is kind of like a kind of method acting. You really kind of just get in your head and say, okay, if it was me and this was being sold to me, what would my resistance to it be? What would I say? What would I want to know? Maybe I'd want to know if it's, a high quality. Maybe I'd think it was kind of expensive. Maybe I would, maybe an objection would be, are you as a company going to be around for a while? Whatever it is, I think we know more than we think we know, but we never really kind of sit quietly and try to get in touch with that.
One of the things that I just recently came out with a course called Profit from Facebook. And one of the things we were just talking to Bob Bly about earlier in one of our other interviews, which on the thrivinglaunch.com website, everyone can have access to the Bob Bly interview. But one of the things that we were talking about is how to do this research, right? And I'm always trying to understand how different marketers and copywriters are doing this research. It's so important. And one of the methods that I've come up with is I go to Facebook and I try to sell the idea. Right. And then I see people's questions. And then I go to Facebook and I find Facebook groups where the hot buyers for that certain product would be at. And I start making posts where I'll either kind of teach something or kind of hint at a program or product and then see what the responses are. Or I'll even just create my own group so I own the whole group and I can invite potential prospects in and then I can test them all. But Facebook and social media, as well as surveys, Kamala does this whole survey method where we email our list with a questionnaire. And these are all great methods, but we need to know these rebuttals. We need to find out what people's what ifs or I'm not sure, but sounds great, but I'm not sure. And we need to understand all this stuff. I think you gave some really excellent methods there.
Yeah, well, I liked yours too. That was a great addition to it, is that idea of trying to sell it on Facebook, either as an idea or as a hint of a program or product or as the actual thing.
Yeah, Luis, you're really great at helping people to be involved in the creation of the product, and so you know that they're qualified to buy it once it's released. So it's just a really cool process. It works really well. David, it's been so great having you on the show. We're going to make sure we are going to give you all some incredible resources from David.
David has some great stuff for everyone to
He
check
really
out.
does. And as always, you go to thrivinglaunch.com. We make sure to give that to you as well. And we have some really fantastic show notes over there, some other things that we want to include, some special gifts. So
we'll see you all at thrivinglaunch.com. David, it's been a real pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so much.
Oh, same here. I enjoyed it, you guys.
You've been listening to the Thriving Launch podcast. For books and resources related to today's episode, make sure to head over to thrivinglaunch.com. We'll see you there.
Why do people cheat in their relationships, and how can you prevent infidelity? We're going to be talking with Charles Orlando about that and more, so be sure to tune into our next episode with Charles Orlando.